Welcome to Attican Plays, Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic. All right, hi, this is Attican, and welcome to another Workers and Resources, Soviet Republic quick guide. In this one, we're going to talk about the fundamentals of happiness. How do you keep your workers happy so that you can keep them in your republic? Unhappy workers flee. You get in a downward cycle of less and less workers, and your industries are less and less productive, and your trade surplus dwindles to the point where it's a trade deficit. It's not that hard a word, and no good. So I've been doing my homework, watching what happens in terms of happiness, so I could give you some of the basics. So here we go. First of all, of course, here's the overall happiness for this playthrough I'm doing right now. And a couple of things kind of go hand in hand, the happiness and the productivity. So basically what you're seeing here is an overall population that's pretty close to maxed out on happiness, but they aren't there yet. So there are still some escapes. And there are still people who individuals in different places who get unhappy and say bye-bye to us. But and by the way, I don't want to say that that's the only reason for an escape. I haven't gone that deeply into all the loyalty and stuff. That's government loyalty and what that means and how that plays into it. That's for a later date. But the basic elements of happiness are really around supplying what the population requires, and the main thing is food and meat. And they require, some of the folks require alcohol, depends upon how much they like it. They require culture in the form of a cinema. They require sports in the form of tennis or football. They require a church, which, by the way, I'm playing on the map that doesn't even allow you to build churches, so that's a toughie, and I'll show you one thing you can do about that in a minute. And they require shopping. They require clothes and electronics. And it's a very interesting way that those requirements play out and what they really do to drive each individual's happiness. And you really are talking about each individual person in your republic, not some collective happiness of I have X number of farms or so many groceries or so much shopping, I get happiness. It comes down to each individual. So let me show you what I mean. We're going to go over to an area I set up just for the purposes of being able to show you this. Okay, so here we are in an area I built up over here right in the corner where we have an Eastern Bloc border and a Western Bloc border. Borislav and I won't even try that one. And what I've got here is a kind of a downtown. So here's a central area that's going to serve as downtown, and it's served by bus stops, and each of the bus stops is capable within walking distance of all the things that you need for happiness. So it's served by a shopping center, which allows citizens to buy food, clothes, electronics, and meat. It has within walking distance playgrounds, football fields and tennis courts. It has a cinema for culture. It has a pub within walking distance. Right there it is. And so you can eat, drink, get all your food, and buy your clothes and electronics, and go to the movies. Oh, and a hospital. Within walking distance, which is another critical thing for happiness. So let me show you what I mean when I say it gets down to the individual. If we go over here to this bus stop, now there are 3 students waiting. Let's go take a look at somebody here. Notice this prefab, the folks are pretty close to delighted. But you also notice in this build, and ignore all this, I have not tried to optimize any of this, so I've just got these down here to kind of illustrate the point. So, but in this prefab here, Borislav Flats Prefab 5, the folks are pretty much delighted. They're just absolutely delighted. Now, they are assigned to work in this clothing factory right here. But if you'll look around them, the only thing that they can walk to besides work is actually the school and the kindergarten. And the kindergarten, so they can drop the kiddies off so they can go to work. So let's just take a look at one of these folks here. Here is Yermushin, or however you say that. So we're going to call him Yermushin. Him or her, and honestly, I don't even know. But Yermushin is 100% happy. And you'll notice, though, everything isn't 100%. Now, we've got 0 down. Religion is down to 0. That means that the desire to pray is gotten down to 0, or their satisfaction for it has gotten down to 0. There's no alcohol addiction, no desire for going to church, which is good because we can't build them. And you can see they're pretty much pumped up on everything else. But if you look around, there's nothing there for Yermushin to use. So how is he getting happy? Well, he set up, first of all, let's see if we can follow. Where did old Yermushin go? Well, we can pick somebody else. Here, we'll pick, it's not getting any better. We'll pick this person. We'll call him Uma. So Uma is on, I'm going to say her. Uma is on her free time. And each individual gets 16 hours of free time and 8-hour work shift. And that makes up their day. But it doesn't work out exactly like that. There are no shifts in this game. It's actually each individual person's schedule. So when they complete their 16-hour free time, they go into their work shift. And it doesn't matter if it's completely different from everybody else who's working with them in that factory. That's when they go to work. And that's when they need to go their free time to get satisfaction. So what happens is when you enter your free time, you'll have current demands. And you'll have to go meet those demands. And you can see we picked up Uma. She's already taken care of everything. So how does she do that? Well, what these people will do is when they hit their job time, they will go to the work that's nearest them unless their flat has been assigned, like this one has, specifically to work somewhere. In that case, they'll go work in that spot. If we didn't have this one assigned to that clothing factory, then somebody here, when it came time for them to work, they would pick a place to go work. And by the way, one time through the cycle, they might work in the fabric factory. The next time they might work in the clothing. The third time they might work in the school. Any place that they're qualified to work. So when free time hits, they then say, okay, I need to go find food. And they will look in their area and say, there's no food for me to get to. So they will go to the nearest bus or rail station, the nearest transportation they can find, and they will go wait at that station. And they don't even know if there's anything at the end of the rainbow. All they're doing is saying, I've got to find food, so I'm going to go here to transportation and see if I can find food. So let me see if we can run Uma. You'll notice that she's going through a counter. Once this gets to 16 hours, she's already done all her stuff, so she's back home. And I'll explain that in a minute as well. So now she's on her work shift. And she goes to her factory. She's walked in. She's working in the factory. And she will work for 8 hours. Okay, back from firefighting duty. Okay, so let's look at Demidov. Demidov's on his free time, and he has gone to the shopping center. How did he do that? He went to the bus stop. A bus is set up to take him to a bus stop here that is within walking distance of all the stuff downtown. So basically, he went downtown. Now he's gotten his food, he's gotten his clothes, and he still has to visit the doctor. And he's only done 50% of his visit to the doctor, and he's going to run out of time. So do you notice what happened to him? Even though he got his food and clothing, he didn't get his full 100% of a visit to the doctor. He ran out of time, and his happiness actually dropped 4 points. He went from 100 to 96. So what that shows us is that your ability to design a system of either walking or effective bus routes. As you can see, this particular setup has buses running everywhere, or trains, or however you do it. You've got to be able to get these people through their cycle of all the things that they want during their free time. So here's Demidov heading for another cycle, and there's always this delay until his free time actually kicks in. You see he's currently at home. Now it's started, and now he's going to the platform. He's going to wait on a bus, and he will wait up to 1 hour. If no bus comes within an hour, he will leave. But we've got a good bus system. Keep that in mind. You've got to have frequent buses or frequent trains. He's on the bus. He's going to the platform up here that will allow him to walk over. He'll probably go out. He'll walk over to the store, and he'll get food and electronics. And we'll see if he has enough time to hit the doctor here. Yep, he's going to get the food first. He's getting food and electronics. The beauty of the shopping center, it gives them oversupply. You can only hit 100% with those smaller groceries and the small store. And now what's he doing? He went back to a platform. Somewhat stupidly, he went to a bus, but now he's going to bus platform 3, and that should be that one right there, which should be in walking distance of the hospital. Let's see if he makes it. Because he has to get, yeah, he is. He's going to the hospital. He's being treated in the hospital. He needs 15 minutes of treatment. He's actually getting overkill of treatment because he had plenty of time. So he's visited the doctor. He's very, very happy. We'll watch him when his free time ends. He'll adjust on his time. There he goes. And he went back to up to 100%. So what have we seen here? We've seen that if we can efficiently allow people to hit the demands that they have, and by the way, these demands keep rotating. They're not always the same one. And they kind of cycle up to a peak and then drop down a little bit. So food I haven't seen one yet where food wasn't number one. Food is always number one. So you really want to make sure that you can get to a shopping center or to a grocery or something right away. That's number one. Then the nice thing about the shopping center is in the one building, they can simultaneously get the food, electronics, meat, and clothing. And then they'll take care of any other needs they have. I've been doing my homework here. That's why I haven't had a video out in a while. And I've been watching a lot of these. I mean, you think I had something better to do with my life. I've been watching a lot of these, and it's always 2 or 3 current demands. And those current demands, when the total free time ends, is when you get the adjustment on the happiness. And if you meet them all, the happiness goes up. And if you miss one or more of them, the happiness goes down. You miss enough of them, bye-bye Demidov. He's going to head over there to that place I can't pronounce. Or let's say he's going to go over here to Barislav, because I can more or less say that, and he'll run over to and defect to the west. We don't want that. We want him working for us. He's got a basic education. That means he can work, he can produce. We want to keep him around. He even owns some electronics. So the happiness is all about having an efficient system, providing what they have, what they need, and having it reachable. You can eat, and that's one way to reach it is this model I'm showing you here, where you have the workers out somewhere. You have a very well organized central town, downtown, or uptown. If you lived in the Charlotte area, as I do, it'd be uptown. So you have an uptown with all your shopping and cinema and hospital and some playgrounds and pub, and that's all they need. And if you could get them into that area and keep them going, you can keep them happy and keep their happiness either up at the top or increasing. So that's kind of happiness in a nutshell, is having those things going on. Now, I'm playing on the absolute hardest setting, so my folks overreact when they're not happy. So let me show you one other thing you can do, and we'll just kind of stop at that for this little quick guide. The other thing you can do is set up radio or TV stations. Once you've got a decent amount of radios out there. So in the case of this particular playthrough, 48% of our population have radios. So we can reach quite a few people through our little radio station here. And then we can tweak these things in order to accomplish our goals. So my first goal with this radio station was to drive down people's desire for praying. It's called pray in their desire list. It's to go to church. And the reason you need to drive that down in the Soviet Republic is, particularly on this map, you can't build any churches. And what will happen is the people who come in and are just adamant that they want to pray, if their two demands are food and pray, they'll go get the food, and then they will just spend all their time looking for the prayer, and they will not find it. Their happiness will drop, and you could even miss the day of productivity. They will miss work looking for that prayer. So you've got to find a way to handle that. You can overcome that because they won't keep that prayer up there as their top demand all the time, as long as you do a good job with the other ones. But you can also take this and see how you can, religion anti-propaganda, you can decide how much of that you want to do. But you'll notice it has an effect on everything, because as you like, if we made this 100% religion anti-propaganda, we could cut down on people's desire to go to church quite a bit, but you would notice it's not helping our overall happiness, and it's actually hurting our culture. But if we tweak the numbers a little bit, so I'm going to pump up the culture just a little bit here. Notice our happiness is increasing, and we're getting less of a hurt on our culture. Now, if we get to right there, we actually are getting a bump on our happiness overall. We are driving down the people's desire to go to church, and we are not hurting our culture. But we are paying a penalty because people are becoming less loyal to us from all the results of that. So we could give them a little bit of propaganda. Now, if we go right there, now we're not losing anything. We are driving down the religious sympathy, and we are increasing our overall happiness. Now, why does that matter? Again, because if they're happy, they're working. They're getting their needs met quickly, they're going back to work, and they're working another full 8-hour shift, and we're getting the job done. So that's kind of happiness in a nutshell. It's really two things. It's understanding those basic elements of what makes your citizens happy, and then it's setting up a well-organized city where either they can get to a place to do their shopping and their cinema and all that stuff, or, let me move over and I'll show you another one, or they can walk to it. So here's where we started this playthrough in Molna, and here's our original city block with the modification that I've added a cinema to it. But if you look at the happiness here, it's almost pegged out, and there's no shopping center for these folks. But if you look at where they can walk to ballparks, they can walk to the cinema, they can walk to a shopping and grocery and a pub, and they can walk to the hospital. So that being said, they can cover all the things that they need. And keep in mind too, the hospital, visit the doctor is one type of requirement. That's a need that needs to be met by them actively going and doing something. When a person's health falls significantly, then there's the other kind of visit, and that's where the ambulance goes out and grabs them. Like right here, we've got this person, Mantarov, who is, let's see, what's the matter with Mantarov? Did I get the right one? Sorry, I hit the wrong one. So here's a person, Itush, whose health has dropped significantly and needs an ambulance. So sometimes the ambulance, the hospital has to go out and get people and bring them in for treatment when they're seriously ill, and other times it's just illnesses that people need to deal with. So they, from time to time, their requirement for that day is to go to the doctor. All right, so you can either set them up to walk, you can set them up to ride, but either way you do it, you have to keep in mind all the elements of happiness, and that's food, meat, clothing, electronics, culture, i.e. watching movies, drinking in the pub, and the hospital, going to visit the doctor. Those are the things that people need to be happy. You need to keep them happy, or you will get into this state of constant defection, and your productivity will drop and drop and drop as you lose your workforce. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it'll help you become a better player, and I hope you'll join us for our next Workers and Resources Soviet Republic video. Thank you.